Flight attendant tells Black Pastor to remove his cross 10 minutes later. She's off the plane. The hum of the airplane engines filled the cabin of Flight 237. A red-eye from Chicago to Atlanta. Reverend Marcus Tate, a black pastor in his mid-40s, sat in seat 14C, his hands folded over a worn Bible. His silver cross necklace, a gift from his late mother, rested against his chest, a quiet symbol of his faith. Marcus was no stranger to long flights. His ministry took him across the country, preaching hope in small churches and community centers. Tonight, though, he felt a heaviness unrelated to the turbulence. Across the aisle, a young mother rocked her fussing toddler, while a businessman in a crisp suit tapped furiously at his laptop. The cabin was a microcosm of strangers, bound by nothing but their shared destination. Marcus closed his eyes, whispering a prayer for patience. He'd felt the weight of eyes on him since boarding some curious, some cold. He was used to it. Being a black man in spaces not always welcoming came with its own unspoken rules. Keep your head down. Don't draw attention. Stay calm. The trouble began 10 minutes after takeoff. A flight attendant, Karen Wells, approached Marcus with a clipped stride. Her blonde hair was pulled into a tight bun, her smile professional but thin. "Sir," she said, her voice sharp enough to cut through the cabin's hum. "You need to remove that necklace." Marcus blinked, his hand instinctively touching the cross. "Excuse me? It's a safety concern," Karen said, her tone unwavering. "It could be seen as provocative. We have policies." Her eyes flicked to the cross, then back to his face, a challenge in her gaze. The cabin grew quieter. The young mother stopped rocking her child. The businessman's typing slowed. Marcus felt the heat of attention, a spotlight he hadn't asked for. "This is a religious symbol," he said evenly. "It's personal to me. I've worn it on dozens of flights." Karen's lips tightened. "I'm not debating this. Remove it or we'll have an issue." Her voice carried a weight that felt personal, as if the crosser Marcus himself offended her. The air thickened with tension. A white man in his 60s, seated in 14A, leaned forward. "Lady, let the man be. It's a necklace, not a weapon." His gravelly voice drew nods from a few nearby passengers, but Karen shot him a look. "This is my aircraft," she snapped. "I enforce the rules." Marcus's heart pounded, but he kept his voice steady. "I'm not trying to cause trouble. This cross was my mother's. It's all I have left of her." His words hung in the air, raw and vulnerable. A few passengers shifted uncomfortably, their faces softening. Karen's expression didn't budge. "Rules are rules. Take it off or I'll have you removed when we land." The threat hit like a slap. Marcus felt the familiar sting of being singled out, the weight of assumptions about his skin, his presence, his faith. He could comply, tuck the cross away, and let the moment pass. But something in him resisted, not out of pride, but principle. This wasn't about a necklace. It was about being seen fully as a person. A new voice broke the standoff. "Excuse me." It came from a woman in her 30s, seated in 15B. She stood, her hijab framing a face both calm and fierce. Her name tag read, Dr. Aisha Khan, MD. She held a medical journal, her finger marking her place. "I'm a frequent flyer," she said, her voice clear. "I've never heard of a policy banning religious symbols. Can you cite the regulation?" Karen faltered, her confidence cracking. "It's standard procedure. For safety." Aisha raised an eyebrow. "I'm also a lawyer. I'd love to see that policy in writing." The cabin buzzed with murmurs. The businessman snorted, hiding a grin. The older man in 14A clapped softly. Karen's face reddened, her authority slipping. Marcus seized the moment. "I don't want this to escalate," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "I just want to sit here, read my Bible and get to Atlanta. Can we move on?" Karen hesitated, then doubled down. "If you don't comply, I'll call the captain." She turned, striding toward the cockpit. The cabin erupted in whispers. The young mother clutched her toddler tighter, whispering, "This is ridiculous." A teenage girl across the aisle filmed the scene on her phone, her eyes wide. Minutes passed, tense and heavy. Marcus prayed silently, his fingers tracing the cross. He thought of his mother, her lessons about dignity in the face of hate. He wasn't angry, just tired. Tired of proving his worth, his right to exist. Then came the twist. The cockpit door opened, but it wasn't the captain who emerged. It was another flight attendant, a black woman named Denise, her face lined with quiet authority. She carried a clipboard and spoke softly to Karen, who stood rigid by the galley. Their conversation was brief, heated, and inaudible. Denise approached Marcus, her expression warm but professional. "Reverend Tate," she said, reading his name from the manifest. "I'm so sorry for this. There's no policy against religious symbols. You're free to keep your necklace on." She turned to the cabin. "Folks, we're handling this. Please stay seated." Karen's face drained of color. "But Denise cut her off. "You're done here, Karen. The captain wants you off duty. You'll exit in Atlanta." The words were final, a quiet thunderclap. Karen stood frozen, then retreated to the galley, her head bowed. The cabin exhaled collectively. Aisha leaned toward Marcus. "That was wrong what she did. I faced it too." She touched her hijab, a shared understanding passing between them. The older man in 14A offered Marcus a nod. His eyes saying more than words could. The teenage girl stopped filming, her face a mix of awe and relief. The rest of the flight was quiet. Marcus opened his Bible, finding solace in the familiar words. When the plane landed, passengers clapped not for the landing, but for justice, however small. Karen disembarked first, escorted by a gate agent, her eyes avoiding the crowd. Marcus waited, letting others go ahead. Aisha paused by his seat. "Keep shining, Reverend," she said. "We need it." As he stepped onto the jetway, Marcus felt the cross against his chest, a reminder of his mother's strength, his own resilience, and the unexpected allies who'd stood with him. He didn't know Karen's story, her fears, her biases, but he prayed she'd find her way to understanding. The world needed more bridges, fewer walls. This story isn't just about one flight. It's about the small battles we fight to be seen, to be human. It's about the courage to stand firm and the grace to forgive. What do you think? Where do we draw the line between rules and prejudice, between justice and mercy? Share your thoughts.